Yeah, it's fine.
I love you. Am I loud enough?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Can I make it a bit more louder?
It's fine, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Now here, I had several kind of clarifications from you all regarding the assignment. Now, by now you have received your assignment. Do you need to ask any questions on the assignment I sent before we start? Today is the last session, of course, of pedagogical psychology. And before we start the last lesson on intelligence, do you have any questions to ask?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Afra. The
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
is,
Today,
you all are
my
not
first,
loud enough to me, for me.
Today is my first session, ma'am.
Why is that, Afra?
I joined this month.
So lately.
Yeah.
So how can you actually complete your work? I think this is what you're supposed to do. You can actually collect all your recordings
Yes.
and the material, and you have to self-study, self-learn. Am I right?
Yeah. This is the presentation, ma'am, regarding pedagogical psychology.
Yeah, now for the presentation, I have my revision session coming Wednesday, next week Wednesday.
Okay.
Revision session means that I will do some revision and inform you about the format of the final exam paper. So that is next Wednesday. So if you can actually read what is sent, the assignment, if you can actually collect the assignment I sent them from the institute and be ready for that. It is actually self-study. You have to read the material and be prepared for a presentation. All the instructions are given. So coming Wednesday after the class, I can get you to.
Okay, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Right? And I think it's a big task. What are you? Can you introduce yourself to me?
I was a primary teacher, ma'am. Now I'm not working.
You're home these days.
Yeah, at home.
So maybe because of that you can actually listen to all the recordings and read the material and make your own notes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. If you're ready, that you can do. As you all are adults, of course, that you can actually, it's big like big in the class if you receive the recording and then you read the material, do your own notes and be prepared. Okay. And
Okay.
the final examination dates are also set. When is the final examination date sent to you, Putta? Mid-October, right? Mid-September. No, this is August, mid-September. Am I right? Please
Yes,
respond, Putta.
Mid-September.
Mid-September. So mid-September means another 1 month only for you, Afra. Okay, for all that. But if you really can actually make it, so you're really good. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. With that, any other questions from others? Do you?
Excuse me, madam. Ma'am.
I can see Vidanage, KWMD. You have any questions?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Madam. So we have to submit our
Anamika, can you kindly speak up? You have to know this is online. And I actually talk very loudly to you because I know otherwise it's very difficult to follow. So can you speak a bit louder? Come closer to your mic.
Madam, now can you hear me?
Still the same, Putta.
Oh. Okay, madam. Now, is it okay, madam?
Can you actually check your volume?
Okay, madam.
Can you check the volume? Mine is now 100%. Okay.
Now, is it okay, madam?
Yeah, a bit better.
Madam, I think we have to submit our assignment on Wednesday, coming Wednesday. Sorry, coming Monday. So how we submit it, madam? It means
That of course is normally I'm not supposed to receive any assignments from you, Puta, right? So
Yes.
previously for other subjects, how did you do that? If you have not done it with other subjects, you have to actually contact your institute. Do you have a coordinator?
Yes, madam. I asked from him. He said to me, send a hard copy.
So how can I mark hard copies?
Don't know, madam.
That of course you have to speak to them and see. I want the soft copies. Now, if you submit hard copies, that means they have to scan it and send it to me,
Okay,
right?
ma'am. Yes.
They have to scan it and send it to me, like handwritten ones that you do. So you have to scan it and upload, no. But I don't think that in an online class that you all have to submit hard copies is not very, actually it's confusing. So better talk again to them. Anybody else, have you spoken to the institute regarding the submission? Now Vidanage has a question. Have you spoken to the institution about the submission link or anything?
Not yet, madam. I think they will provide some email address or something.
Yeah, sometimes you have a
No,
Google
no, madam.
Classroom,
That's the
right?
usual way to submit, no?
Yeah, you have an LMS or whatever. They will
Yeah.
actually give you a link.
I
That
think
is
it's
what. And I
easy,
will
no,
regard,
madam.
I will actually put a
Hard
message
copies.
to them.
How can we
Okay.
send hard copies?
So they are asking for a hard copy is kind of a confusing thing for me,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's an online class, no? So anyway, I'm in Colombo. Their campus is in somewhere else. And you all are from different places. And I learned that one is from Kandy, the other one is from Gaul and all that. So you all have to go there, no, then to hand it over. So I don't think that it must be a kind of a wrong information, I feel. Anyway, you all have to ask from the institute, but make sure that you have to meet the deadline. An assignment is an assignment, meeting deadline is a must, okay? I will also check with them and ask them to inform you, okay? Send you the link to submit this pedagogical psychology written assignment. I will also tell them. That is what how I can answer your question, your Vidanage, right? For the time being, Puta. Okay.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Any other questions? If you have started your assignment in understanding now, whatever.
Madam, excuse me, madam. In fourth activity, madam,
Yeah.
there are two topics, no? So word count is 600. So each topic 600 or
No, that is not so.
okay.
Somebody asking what's the assignment, Afra. I have given a written assignment also, because your program has 2 assignments. Sorry, your course has 2 assignments. One is individual presentation. The other one is individual written assignment. So I have given them a written assignment on what we have covered, right? Some areas. So you have to actually first go through them, collect the assignment, read the relevant material and listen to the recording and do it. You're in a kind of a very tight uh, time frame, because for everything you have only 1 month. Okay. I don't, whether there can be a consideration for the assignment, but better to finish it up, because the written examination means you have to read everything, right? Okay, that is Afra's question. Now, this was asked by who asked this, Gishani, right?
Yes, madam. That
Yeah,
activity 4.
Gishani, for both parts, it's 600 because it comes at the end, okay? End of the question. So for the whole question, it's 600. So
Okay, madam.
how
So we
much
have
you
to
write
write
for part
separately,
A,
no, madam.
how much you write for part B, I have not actually specified that. So you can think of the question, right? You can think of the question, which part needs more. So, but you have to make both have only 600 within the 600 word limit here. Okay.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Right. That is it. Any other question? Any other question?
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah, Nilupuli.
Excuse me, madam.
Yes.
Madam, this is the first subject I'm attending. So may I know whether there were any other subject that lectures have done?
Other subjects, I have no idea, Pute. I'm only visiting
Oh,
and I'm working for them as a part-time lecturer. And the modules they give me, looking at the course descriptor, I conduct. But I have no idea about the rest of the program, Pute. For that, you all have to speak to the coordinator. Normally, that is the practice of campus. Okay, that you might have a coordinator. What is his or her name? Nilupuli, do you have a coordinator?
I have no idea, madam.
So who did
I
you
have
speak
no
to in joining?
I have called to the Apex Institute,
Hmm.
and that's all. I don't know about the coordinator.
Right. Then you can speak to them again on this number and ask for the contact person, that is the coordinator for this program. And then ask all this information from them. Okay. How many courses are there for the program, the duration of the program, what are the courses that you have. Courses mean in a program. Now my one is one course, that is pedagogical psychology. There can be other courses. Maybe you finish
Yes.
one and start the next, or parallelly they are running two. I don't know, Pute.
Yes, ma'am. I've got those information, but this is the first time I'm attending to a subject. That means a course. But I don't know whether there were any other subjects. That's why I'm asking you.
So if you
So,
actually have got the course program kind of structure, so it should be there, no? I think these matters actually you have to actually talk to them, Puta, right? But I really would like you to know how a campus works
okay.
and all that. That is why I gave you some details. Anyway, when you enroll into a degree program, that they will give you the curriculum framework. In the curriculum framework, they have the number of courses that you have to cover, right? That rest of it that you
Okay, ma'am.
speak to the institute.
Okay.
As adults, that you all have to actually, when you get enrolled into a program, you have to know what are the courses, duration, the number of credits given, and all that you have to know. So you get this information from them. Okay. Otherwise, how on earth that you decide on this?
Okay,
Something
ma'am.
like that. This is a bit of kind of advice for you. So you be familiar with the program, what kind of a program, what are the courses. So then you all are adult learners now. So you know, our next is this module, or I have this module also. So you will be actually getting ready for that by reading some material available online and all that. That is an adult attitude towards learning. So you have to know it. So good that you all are asking me, that you have that interest. No, that is why you're asking me. But I'm not the person, Pute, that. But next week, tomorrow itself, that you can get all the information from the campus. Okay? Speak to them and get them. Is it okay? I think I
Okay,
made
ma'am.
it very
Thank
kind
you,
of
ma'am.
made
Yes,
you to
ma'am.
understand what you're supposed to do, Kela, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Any other
ma'am.
questions
Thank you so much.
related to our assignment? තියනවාද assignment එක සම්බන්ධ any question?
Madam, can you tell me something about that? How we start the assignment?
Gishani, how we start means, can you ask more about it? How we start means?
In that first one, then activity one, madam, then what's the way we have to write?
Yeah. Now, what is the question? First one.
The
Do you
first
have
one
the
is, madam,
assignment with you?
Yes, madam, that Piaget's cognitive development theory, based on the stages that children go through as they grow, that lead them to actively learn new information.
Uh,
Discuss referring to the cognitive process and the stage of cognitive development. Write a brief essay on discuss referring to the cognitive process and the stages of cognitive development.
Mm.
Write a brief essay on classroom implications of Piaget's theory of cognitive development.
Yeah, so very simple that you can say, don't write a lot of background information about Piaget. Why? It's only 600 words. Am I right?
Yeah, madam.
Yeah, so it is actually your common sense. So intelligence, part of intelligence is common sense. Now, if you have to write that essay in 1500 words, you can actually give a brief introduction about Piaget's background. He experimented with his own children and all that. This is not needed, okay? Instead, you can start that. Piaget discusses cognitive development of children, right? In discussing cognitive development of children, right? Amankua, you have to discuss this Piaget's theory of cognitive development, looking at basically two component and underlying principles. First starts with underlying principles, right? He makes it age related. According to Piaget, cognitive development is age related, right? Because of that, he actually introduces 4 stages of cognitive development referring to the age. Yet he says that though cognitive development is age related, age may vary, but never the sequence. So according to Piaget, all individuals have to go through all these 4 stages in order to accomplish the cognitive development. Right? Then you can, the process of cognitive development as assimilation, accommodation, and equilibrium, as I have discussed. So you can set aside some parts for that. So the cognitive, in order to talk about cognitive process, Piaget discusses the schemas, how these schemas, building blocks of knowledge, gets adapted through assimilation and accommodation. What is accommodation? What is accommodation? You give examples, and then when new information is presented, when the child is in a state of disequilibrium, the child naturally strives for equilibration, and it helps the development of cognition. That a particular process kata kara. Then according to Piaget, this cognitive development happens in 5 significant stages. So you can talk about the stages one by one. Mulima hattarama dila. One by one you can discuss, referring to stage, age specified, expected cognitive develop, how cognitive development takes place during that stage, and expected significant cognitive developments, and the key feature and the study done by Piaget. Referring to them, you can discuss one stage, then the second, third, like 4. So then within 600, Nisa, so you first write the sketch of it. This is what I'm going to discuss. Then you think, for the first one, I will actually, it's only introducing this underlying principles, age related, but never the age may vary, never the sequence. You can say, I will say it in 1 or 2 sentences. And then you come to the cognitive process. You need more words for the stages. So 600, how I'm going to organize. But you don't have to say exactly 100, exactly 25. But you can actually organize which component part of your answer will carry more. It all depends on your understanding about the subject that you are kind of writing about. Is it clear to you? This question was asked by Gishani.
Yes, madam.
Is it clear?
Yes, madam. Thank you.
You can't just start. You have to read, understand. Referring to this. It was your sketch 600 වලට මේක කොහොමද බෙදන්නේ?
Yeah,
ගොඩක්
madam.
කතා කරන්න තියෙන්නේ කොතනද? Less information where. So you have to have the sketch. And then your first draft is never the final draft. Once you write the first answer, it may have 1,000 words. It may have 500 words. So you have to actually revise it. First the sketch, and then you write, and then revise. Are you okay? It's good that you ask question because everyone else is also benefited. You all are new to these kind of work, so you need to kind of asking questions. It's really good question, Gishan.
Thank you very much, madam.
Hope I answered your question and you can now have some understanding, Kela.
Yes, madam. I want to know, madam, that age groups I have to explain one by one, no, madam, that in this cognitive development.
I didn't get you. Which age group?
That there are some age groups, no, madam, that in cognitive development theory. So I have to explain one by one, no, madam.
Age group means you are referring to Piaget's 4 stages, no?
Yeah, yes, madam. It's stages.
So age groups are not the topic, no? Age is specified. But we are talking about the 4 stages. But it's
Yes.
very important, right? So more on stages.
Yes, madam.
And stages, well, while doing the lesson also, I told what are the importance of your stage, name of the stage, age specified, how during that stage, how the cognitive development happens. And then you have to talk about the significant cognitive developments. And then the key feature. First stage, object permanence, second, shedding egocentrism, like that. And then the study done by Piaget. ඔය ටිකට refer කරලා ලියන්න ඕනේ. So you have to learn how to write them epigrammatically. Okay?
Yes, madam. Thank you.
That is it. First, now when you Puta, you take up Piaget, before taking up Piaget's question, listen to the recording uploaded to the Google Classroom or whatever the Moodle. Okay? And then read your notes and be thorough with the subject matter. Then read the question and prepare the structure and then do the first draft, then go on revising. That's the approach in actually writing an answer to a question in an assignment. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Okay, good. Any other question on this? Because I know Somling, because if it is this your first few modules, you need to ask questions. Any other person? Any other question? No. The others are depending on those who talk, brother. Right. Let me actually
Madam.
share my module, lesson note today. Today we are discussing intelligence. Okay. Let me open my.
Ma'am, one more thing to ask.
Yeah, Channa.
Ma'am, in the first question, there are 2 parts, A and B.
Yeah.
For both parts, we should write 600 words.
Yes, Puta.
It means, ma'am, we have to divide 300 or 400 into part A and part B. For the first question, we will be given 15 marks, and the second, we will be given 10, as I remember. If that is so, madam, how do we select the amount of words?
For the first, now, now you're referring to Piaget's one, okay?
Yeah, first one, ma'am.
Yeah, now mark allocation is a kind of indication for you. Because if you allocate all the 600 to first part, still you are entitled for that allocation. If you want to write more, still you are entitled for the allocation. If it is 15 and 10, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Even a 15 one, the question, the part of that question carries 15 marks. You have to actually write more in that part. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that of course is writing it in 600 is a kind of a challenge, but you can put it. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Understood. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Then don't now, if it is on the part, there are 2 parts. Then of course, Baba, Okay, now, then yes, Channa, then if there are two parts, look at the breakdown of the marks and decide which part actually needs more. The breakdown of the marks also given like that, considering it. Okay, after the first part, they can write more. Maybe in the Piaget's question, second part is implications. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
That is why I think you don't have to write a whole lot on implications. No? So you can actually write very little for that implications part. Write more on that part. Actually, all these are very good that you all are asking questions, because you need to develop your ability to write answers to write assignments also. So because of that, by doing it, you're learning it. Okay. So you can actually decide. Now theory part is more and implication part is less. But if you can still think of one or two examples can be put, there's more room for more words, that you can do that. If not, that you don't have to, because it's a within a tight word frame that you have to write. The approach to this kind of writing assignments is, first, actually, you better, now when you take up the question, listen to the recording, read the material, be thorough with that subject matter. Then read the question and prepare the structure. In preparing the structure, you can look at the keywords, a breakdown of marks, word count and everything, and structure it, how you are going to write. And then you can elaborate the structure, what you are going to write in point form, and then write your first draft. It may have 1,000 words, then you can see how to kind of make it epigrammatical, combine, delete, add, like that. You can go on revising. So actually an assignment is challenging. You're supposed to actually work with it, dabble with it a lot. That is why it is a take-home assignment, right? Not that you study by heart, come and reproduce. It's different from that. It gets you to develop your ability to kind of other skills also, study skills also developed in you when you actually do take-home assignments. Okay, reading, taking notes, forming answers, revising, reviewing, all these kind of abilities, study skills develop in you. So I think that you will be able to do that, because elsewhere also I have given the same assignment on a with very few changes. They have done that, so I know it can be done, Kela. Okay. Are you okay? Are you listening?
Yes,
Yes,
madam.
madam.
Okay. Right, you respond, otherwise I don't know whether you all are listening or I'm disconnected or whatever. Can you see the document that I'm sharing? This is the last lesson.
Yes, madam. Can see.
Yeah, it's intelligence. Okay, it's intelligence. If I ask you this question, what is meant by intelligence? What is meant by intelligence? Now, have you ever have you been told by anybody, you're very intelligent, or you're not very intelligent, or like that? Any comments from others to you? Or what is this intelligence? Have you thought about it? What is your kind of
Ability to do
guess?
everything.
Sorry? Sorry?
Having multiple abilities.
Huh?
Having multiple abilities.
Having multiple abilities. I don't say you're wrong, because we looked at multiple intelligences of Howard Gardner that day. So you know he's talking about 8 intelligences and he's going to add another 9th one. So because of that, you're correct to a certain extent. Is that all? How else that you can look at this term intelligence? Good response. Others, what is this intelligence?
Miss, cognitive development.
You say it's the cognitive development. So your ability to think, your ability to apply, your ability to take in information. You're correct.
Ability to acquire knowledge, madam.
Yeah, ability to acquire knowledge. Very good. Then what else? Very good.
Humans' capabilities,
Sorry?
like human capabilities like solving problems, cognitive abilities.
Internal mental capacities like problem solving, logical thinking, creativity. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Reasoning and all that. Yes. And this is slightly touched upon in cognition, right? Our unit cognition. So we thought that we looked at cognition as intelligence, as some psychologists referred to it, right? Cognition is intelligence. But now we have a separate topic called intelligence and its connection with learning. So intelligence, some are looking at intelligence as kind of inherited. You inherit from your parents in your genes. Because of that, you're born with that intelligence. And according to most of the psychological research, environment, you all know the nature-nurture debate. It's not only nature, nurture also contributes to the development. So intelligence also, nurturing also should be there. But more or less, it's a matter of your kind of, it's a matter of your genetics, right? You get it in your genes. Some facilitation from nurture can happen, but intelligence definitely is your genetic killer. Psychology says, right? More weight can be given to nature than nurture when it comes to intelligence. So with all your explanations, it's really good that you all have learned something from the discussions we had previously, right? Intelligence is referred to as a very complex, multifaceted concept in psychology. So because of that, its complexity, because of its multifacetedness, right? Psychologists say it's something very difficult to define. It's something very difficult to define. But they say one's ability to learn. So we have discussed one's ability to learn. In learning, they have to acquire knowledge. They have to actually send them to the, comprehend them, right? They have to send them to the memory. They have to store it in the memory. They have to retain that information in the memory, retrieve it, and problem solve. So one's ability to learn, reason, problem solve, adapt to new situation, that is application, right? What they have learned something, they directly apply, and they actually synthesize it and modify it, and they actually adapt it and apply to new situations, okay? And effectively interact with the environment. That is one's intelligence, according to psychology, okay? And it encompasses a wide range of mental processes and skills that enable individual to process information, make decisions, and navigate their surroundings successfully. So in your answers, it was there. So I have to actually agree with that. You all have actually read your notes, or you remember what we discussed and all that, Kiela. So that is good. Okay. Anyway, intelligence plays a kind of a higher order thinking. Intelligence involves a bit of higher order thinking, right? We all go through the same cognitive process, but everybody is not very intelligent. Those who are very intelligent, they have the problem solving, reasoning, synthesizing, imagining, creative, higher order thinking. Intelligence level is high, higher order thinking is there. Okay. cognitive process is common to all of us, whether you have low IQ or higher IQ, according to actually by name, right? IQ test. If average person is within 70 to 120, right? Average, all of us are between 70 to 120. But there can be those who are below 70, very low in IQ. There can be those who are very high in IQ, that is 130, 50, like that. Normally, an average, okay, they all go through the same cognitive process. But if you are very intelligent, your higher order thinking abilities, problem solving, synthesizing, creativity, imagination, logical thinking, you will be very good in that. Okay. Any questions? No. So as there is no single, now here intelligence involves abilities such as problem solving and reasoning. Of importance, it also involves successful adaptation to one's cultural environment as well. This is a new component to intelligence. Previously, everybody thought if somebody is intelligent, they are good in their G factors. G factors means general intelligence. They are good in mathematics. They are good in languages. They are good with words and all that. Linguistics and mathematics. Okay. G factors, general factors. They looked at only at general factors. But now the concept of intelligence is broader, and they looked at social factors as well. So that abilities, skills, thinking, they will be able to adapt it to suit the cultural environment that they live in, which is actually sometimes you may termed as common sense and social skills. They are also intelligences. And ultimately, people are now talking about not only IQ. IQ is intelligent quotient, no? But not only IQ, but EQ as well. EQ is emotional quotient. So that is the new thinking about intelligence. So as teachers, when you walk into the classroom, as I told you, development of not only cognition, right? But also social, emotional, spiritual aspect of the child. Similarly, not only IQ, when it comes to intelligences, that you have to think of the EQ as well. It's part of your intelligence. So both IQ and EQ matters now when it comes to the concept of intelligence, okay? So we are looking at that broader concept today. So as you teach us, then you will understand, you will realize what kind of a role that you are supposed to play in the classroom. It's not only cognition, but also not only IQ, but EQ as well. Okay. I think because of that, because of this complexity of the term intelligence, now it's getting broader and broader, wider and wider. So because of that, they say it's very difficult to define. So one definition, no single definition would kind of explain it. So various theories have been proposed. They're looking at intelligence. These theories are there to discuss what intelligence is, and they are talking about different aspects related to components related to intelligence. So if you really want to understand what is meant by intelligence, better, as psychology is very scientific, they have theories formulated to talk about concepts. So we are looking at some theories which actually describes what intelligence is. So that's what we are going to do today in this last lesson of yours, okay? Intelligence. Okay, now, here, before we look at the theories, we will look at the components of intelligence, okay? We will look at components of intelligence. What are these components? This is not a theory, we are looking at components. Components, if not elements of intelligence. I prefer the word elements of intelligence, okay? If you're intelligent, if you call somebody intelligent, if you may refer to somebody as with low intelligences, you will be looking at these criteria, and coming to a conclusion, right? So these are the components of intelligence. The first one, can you read the first one to me? Learning. You all said this. That is why I told you, you have been actually studying, or you have understood what we have been discussing. So can one of you read the first one? That is one of the element of intelligence.
Learning. Intelligence includes the ability to acquire.
Can't hear. Please, I can't hear.
Learning. Intelligence includes the ability to acquire new knowledge and skills through various means such as observation, instruction, and experience.
Experience. Now that is one, thank you. That is one element of intelligence. They learn, right? That is why you tell your students, or you refer to your students as very intelligent, not so intelligent and all that. Because you look at their learning process. Intelligence includes the ability to acquire new knowledge and skills through various means such as observation, instruction, and experience. Okay. So that is one element of one component of intelligence. You look at their learning, their ability to acquire new knowledge and skills by observing others, by listening to the teacher's instructions, by gaining experience, by doing something, they learn, right? They acquire knowledge. By doing, they'll acquire knowledge. That is one component or one element of intelligence. Okay. We'll go to the second one. Can one of you read the second one?
Reasoning.
No, Puta. Something wrong with me or yours. I don't know. I can't hear. You have to speak up. I'm also talking very loud.
Reasoning. Can you hear me?
Better if it is a bit louder, Pute. Mine is 100%.
I don't know what's wrong, ma'am. Can you hear
Right.
now?
Now go ahead.
Reasoning. Intelligent individuals are capable of logical thinking, deductive and inductive reasoning, and drawing valid conclusions from available information.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Very good. So reasoning means intelligent individuals are capable of logical thinking, deductive, inductive, drawing valid conclusion from available information. That is going beyond learning. Thank you very much for your good reading. That is going beyond learning. It's not just acquiring. This is referring to the higher order thinking, like, they will be able to engage in deductive and inductive reasoning. Do you know what is meant? Do you have any questions regarding this? Do you understand what is deductive, what is inductive reasoning? Do you understand? Right? Do you want me to explain, or you know it?
Please explain, madam.
Okay, I will. Now, okay. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Sometimes
right.
it's lagging, madam. Now it's okay.
Now it's okay, now? Thank you. Now, deductive means this. You go from general to specific, right? Now, you refer to now you refer to something. This happens because of this, because you know the big picture. Now, for example, you know one of your students in primary, he doesn't learn, so he doesn't understand your lesson. So you think he doesn't understand this lesson because he's not presented with concrete situation. So you actually take the experience and relate it to the existing knowledge. That is actually deductive. That is deductive. But it can happen the other way around also. Now, you look at what is happening and then you think why this happens. You're not going to refer it to something existing knowledge. That is inductive. That is inductive. So deductive and inductive reasoning is actually a kind of measure of intelligence. They are higher order thinking. It's not just gaining information and committing it to the memory as it is, right? But you use your higher order thinking abilities and you reason it out inductively or deductively. Inductively, you look at it and connect it with the existing knowledge. And in inductive reasoning, you of course form your own knowledge by looking at the information or the experiences or the knowledge that you gather through something. So it's actually really higher order. Okay. Then you draw valid conclusions from available information. That is synthesizing, analyzing. By looking at the available information that you can actually come to conclusions. You design, you draw in conclusions. This happens because of this and all that you're very analytical. So reasoning is higher order learning. Okay, the first one incorporates lower order thinking. Reasoning includes higher order thinking. Okay, then problem solving. Can one of you read what is given under problem solving? Hello?
Problem solving. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah. This time very good.
Intelligence enables individuals to analyze complex problems, break them down into manageable parts, and develop effective strategies to find solutions.
Right. So problem solving is you're not collecting information and keeping it with you and reproducing them, right? Instead, that what you have collected, what is committed to your brain, now you can actually retrieve them and apply them and use it for problem solving, right? For that, you have to actually analyze the problem, break down the kind of problem into manageable parts, and then you find strategies to actually find solutions. Now, the problem may be very complex, but you can actually put it into approachable, feasible paths. First, this problem carries three levels. One is that how to get ready for the exam. Then it has how to actually manage the finances in order to pursue this degree. And then third one, how I can actually apply what I get as my certificate and knowledge for the betterment of my profession. So you look at this as an issue and then you put them into three and then separately treat them. And then you decide, then I have to spend a lot of time on this also, this program. I have to attend online classes, write assignments and all that. So I have to actually give up some of my tuition classes. So if I give up my tuition classes, what happened to my finances? So how can I make it stable? Like that, you will actually put them into parts and then try to actually figure out how to find a solution to them, to actually the issues that you can face. So that is an example from everyday life, right? When it comes to learning also, it's like that. So your students will be able to engage in problem solving by analyzing the complex problems, breaking them into manageable parts, and using effective strategies to find solutions, right? So you have online classes almost 3 or 4 days a week. So how to manage it? So you think I will actually cut down my TV time. I will get my mom to come and help me in housework. Like that, you will not look at the problem as a one big one. Then, this is impossible. How on earth that I can pursue this? I can do this. But if you break it down to sensible parts and then kind of look at these small parts and try to find solutions and then synthesize them and see whether it's actually workable, then you have problem solving abilities. So in your school also, when you do teaching, it's not only IQ, it's intelligence doesn't mean that they pass examinations, right? Instead, that they will be able to become knowledge managers, think of their difficulties in learning, and then try to find their own solutions to their learning difficulties. They will be able to actually see the big picture of the learning process. They know what they are good at, what they are not good at. I am good at actually rote learning. There can be students, those who are not good at rote learning. So they will actually, but there are some subjects they have to rote learn. There are some subjects rote learning will not help. So they know this. So they actually put them into small parts and then see, they individually treat these small parts and then synthesize it and see how it works for them. That is problem solving ability. So this is also part of intelligence. Okay. Earlier, these concepts were not there in in this big concept of intelligence. Now it is elaborated. Intelligence doesn't mean just your ability in maths and language. Okay, it goes beyond. Then adaptability. Intelligent individuals can adjust and adapt their behaviors and strategies based on changing circumstances and new information. So if you're intelligent, you will be able to actually adjust and adapt. So this can be applied to your students as well. So if you can call somebody a very intelligent child, that the child can easily adapt and adjust to the situation. Now, for example, if they're a child and he or she may be very good in mathematics, and you get him to do group work. So one day that you put him into a kind of mixed ability group. So naturally he is an emerging leader there because he's very good in his subject. So the way he actually work in that group, and on another day that you put him into a same ability level. All are good in mathematics, all are good in science. Now he is in that group today, and his approaches, right, in both situations, it's differ, right? It differs from the first one to the second one because he has that adaptability. He's intelligent. He has that element, adaptability. So definitely that you can see the difference that he worked in groups, same ability and different ability groups. So because he has that ability and adjust and use strategies according to the circumstances, okay? And the memory. Memory is also a part of intelligence. That is how much you remember, right? How much you can recall from the learned information. How fast you can recall the learned information, right? Memory. It's not only recalling, how fast you can recall, right? How kind of automatic in recalling or retrieving the information stored in the long-term memory. It's automatic, right? So that is also part of your intelligence. Okay, we have discussed the memory, the three parts, sensory, short-term and long-term, and how they use strategies to actually commit or pass this information on to the different levels of memory, and how fast they are in retrieving. They are also part of intelligence. Okay. Then creativity. Not everyone is very creative. No, some are very dull. Facts as it is. This element is actually missing in many of them, right? The facts as it is that they can use. But using that, what they have actually learned, if they can actually create something new, that is creativity. And there are some students, even in primary grades. I have met my students like that when I was a teacher, right? I can remember that when you teach them something, they experiment and they actually um, uh, kind of create something all new. I very well remember one fine day in a primary class, I was the class teacher, right? I actually did some handwork with them. That was Vesak time and they did Vesak lanterns. So I taught them how to actually do a Vesak lantern. But there were students, those who were very creative, and they actually could put two and two together. What they have learned previously in the handwork class, what they have learned in some other subject, they wanted to combine them and come up with something very creative, new and unique. That is also an element of intelligence, a very rare one, but you can actually get them to actually develop that ability in them through your activities done in the classroom, right? Then social understanding. Some theories of intelligence emphasize the ability to understand, navigate social interaction, including recognizing others' emotions and intentions. We refer to it as emotional intelligence. It's the latest addition to intelligence, okay? The latest element added to the concept of intelligence. Emotional intelligence means one's ability to define and control and regulate one's own emotions, as well as one's ability to get into the other person's shoes and understand what their emotions are. Now, sometimes you may feel very angry and you think superficial level, I'm angry. But if you are emotionally intelligent, that you can actually define that anger. I'm angry because I'm hurt. I'm angry because I had that false belief that she should do this for me. And then you understand it's a false belief, right? Because everyone, I can't expect them to actually treat me like that. That is a false belief I have, that he or she has to treat me like that. Likewise, you can actually define your emotions and understand it, and then control. Once you can understand your emotion, that you can control it, right? So that is what, when it comes to yourself, but same thing applies to others also. Maybe he is angry with me because he didn't get the promotion. So he thinks because of me only that he did not get the promotion. So like that, you try to understand. He doesn't actually talk to me anymore because I got a promotion and he was kind of eyeing it. Like that, you will try to understand them. That is sitting, actually, it's quite natural. Now, then you get into their shoes and then empathize with them, not sympathy. It's empathizing with them. If you can understand their mind, you can actually see, if it happens to me also, it is going to be the same. This is something said easier than done anyway, okay? But that is actually considered as one of the elements or components of intelligence. So now people are talking not only of IQ, but of EQ. And some actually workplaces, they don't believe only in IQ. They think IQ is not needed when it comes to high IQ is not needed from everyone in the workplace. But high EQ is needed from janitor to the chairman. So because of that, they place more value on EQ. So if the workplaces play more value on EQ, the teachers should also pay more place more value on EQ, if not both on IQ and EQ. That is it. So before we move on to the theories of intelligence, did you understand what are the components or elements of intelligence when you look at intelligence in a broader way? Is it understood?
Yes,
I
madam.
went on talking now. Any questions? The class, any questions? No, very good. Right. Did you understand what I'm telling?
Yes, madam.
Okay, so they are looked at. Now, intelligence is very broad, very complex, it's multifaceted. Because of that, there's no definition that they can give. So we looked at the components or elements of intelligence. They all are part of one's intelligence, not only the ability to do maths and Sinhala or language. Okay. There are very many other elements that actually contributes to one's intelligence. Okay, very good. Then we can actually look at the theories of intelligence. So as intelligence is a very comprehensive element, there are some theories that they discuss what intelligence is. So according to educational psychology, there are several theories that have been proposed to understand how individuals learn, perform, and develop cognitive abilities. These theories provide insights into how educators can design effective instructional strategies to cater to diverse learning styles and abilities. So that is why this is incorporated into yours, right? So one is multiple intelligences theory of Howard Gardner. Have we done that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have a question on that also, am I right? In the
Yeah, I
assignment?
got the question. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is done. And you can read more on that in order to do your... this is one theory that discusses intelligence. So Howard Gardner in 1980s, he was very critical of it. You go for some intelligence test. The test has only maths and linguistics, maybe language related questions. Because of that, those who are very strong in other intelligences like musical, kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, natural, spatial, they are actually neglected. It's very unfair by them. So he raised his voice against this partiality. And then, of course, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences, Bahubuddhi Nyaya. Okay, it was taken into consideration in curriculum development, in classroom learning and teaching. It actually became a trend by 1980s. And we are still believing in that. We still believe in that. I told you, in European context, once the teacher gets a new set of students, the teachers are given kind of tests to run, computer program tests to run, to see the students' multiple intelligence levels. So we all have all these 8 intelligences, but some are very strong, some are not so strong. So you have to cater to their strengths and get them to learn it easily. And you have to give them actually opportunities to actually get not so strong areas developed as well. So we have discussed that, okay? So then here then we have another theory by Sternberg. Sternberg is also, like Howard Gardner, is a very important figure when it comes to the concept of intelligence. So before I actually discuss this triarchic theory of Sternberg, he has actually developed 2 theories: successful intelligence theory and triarchical theory. First, the triarchic theory and then the successful intelligence, adding more parts. So I will get you to watch this video. It's a very short video on Sternberg's this theory. And then I actually, give me a second. A second. How can I? A second, I want to play this video. Okay, now I have to actually share this. Okay. Wait. Where can I see that? Sorry. Is it being shared? No, no. Is it being shared?
Not yet, madam.
Okay. Right. I think now you can
Sending an email that sounds negative or even neutral
you can hear and see, no?
Yes, madam.
can be off-putting. Tip number
Triarchic Theory by Robert Sternberg, presented by Kathleen Mercury.
My IQ is 132. I am awesome.
But mine is 135. Why are you so mean?
Mine is 137. Does that mean that I am smart?
How can a number tell you smart you are? What was on that test? Anyway, you do not act very smart.
Robert Sternberg would agree, or at least with how the number was generated. You see, he thought that the way intelligence was measured was wrong. From the early 1900s, researchers studying intelligence have focused on the G factor, the broad mental capacity that influences performance on cognitive ability measures. The focus on one aspect led to the idea of the IQ score.
Robert Sternberg thought that intelligence, especially giftedness, was more than just doing well on tasks. Intelligence meant success in life.
In fact, intelligence relies upon your ability to adapt to your environment, shaping it and adjusting as necessary.
So Sternberg thought the focus of most IQ tests was wrong and measured the wrong thing.
So he came up with a new theory, the triarchic theory, that focuses on the abilities needed to be successful in life.
Sternberg believes intelligence is more than just specific cognitive processes and the ability to acquire knowledge, but the contextual and experiential skills needed to succeed in life. The triarchic theory focuses on three specific types of ability that he believes make up intelligence: the analytical, the creative, and the practical sides of who we are. Analytical intelligence is the ability to analyze, critique, and evaluate. Creative intelligence is the ability to discover, invent, and create. Practical intelligence is the ability to apply, utilize, and implement. Of course, we all have the three types of abilities: analytical, creative, and practical. And research shows that when students are taught according to their ability, they outperform those who aren't. So see intelligence as more than just a number, but abilities that we all have and can use to succeed in life.
So he's also similar to whom? He's also similar to whom? Can you hear me now? He's also similar to whom?
Can hear, madam.
Yeah, Howard Gardner's right theory, because he says just analytical knowledge is not enough. Practical and creativity intelligence also equally matters. They matter. That is what he says. So we are going to look at those triarchic theory of intelligence and theory of successful intelligence, adding some more parts to that. What he discussed, we are going to look at further because we have not done it before, right? So MI theory I'm not going to do, but these two I'll be discussing. Then information processing theory. Did we do that? I'm asking you. Who remembers? If so, what's the name of the psychologist I gave you? In learning? Can you remember information processing theory of Oh, hello.
Hello,
Hello.
madam.
Yeah, can you remember that in learning I did cognitive theory, Gagnis information processing theory? Can you remember?
Yes, madam.
That is what. So I don't have to repeat that, okay? Then cognitive load theory. Actually, cognitive load theory, I did it not as a theory, but when I was discussing memory, working memory. But I will be discussing it again, referring to this cognitive load theory. The 3 stages of memory: sensory, short-term or working memory, and long-term memory. And you know, in the short-term memory, the capacity and the duration is very limited. So then actually what you're supposed to do is you have to actually you have to rehearse it a lot. You have to rehearse a lot and quickly pass it on to the long-term memory. I stop at there. But how to do it, Kianika, we didn't discuss. For that, I have this cognitive load theory to be discussed today. Okay. Then socio-cultural theory of Lev Vygotsky. The more knowledgeable other, the zone of proximal development, and scaffolding. We discussed that, so I'm not going to take it up today because no time. So you can read your learning theory, socio-cultural theory of Lev Vygotsky, referring to more knowledgeable other, scaffolding, and the zone of proximal development. Okay, it's that. Then we are going to discuss further the self-regulated learning theory because that of course not adequately covered. So we are going to discuss that as well. What it's meant by self-regulated learning theory. Okay, in brief. So that is it. There are some learning theories. So we are going to discuss out of them. MI theory is discussed. Triarchic and successful intelligence theories, we are looking at it today. Information processing theory discussed. We are going to discuss more on cognitive load theory and then self-regulated learning. So there are 4 theories to discuss. And out of the 4, 2 are actually connected. That Sternberg's triarchic and successful intelligence. That is an add-on to triarchic one. Okay. So are you ready to look at triarchic theory of intelligence?
Yes, madam.
Proposed by Sternberg. Yes. So you already saw the 3 kind of components of, if not the 3 elements of triarchic intelligence according to triarchic theory by Sternberg. What are those 3 types of intelligences he is referring to? Academic or componential?
Academic.
If not analytic. In the video, it's analytic, no? Analytic or componential, right? Then the second one, creative. And the third one, practical. So more or less, it's like MI theory, no? MI theory, Howard Gardner criticized the idea it's only maths and language. He said there are other intelligences. Similarly, Sternberg also says this typical IQ tests, for example, Binet's IQ test, right? It actually tests the G factors, general intelligence, but you can't actually limit it to G factors. There are other important components, intelligences. So he proposes 3 intelligences like analytic or academic, creative and practical. So let's see what is analytic or academic intelligence according to Sternberg. Can one of you read this?
Academic or analytical componential. includes the ability to solve problems of logic, verbal comprehension, vocabulary, and spatial abilities.
Right, very good. That means one's intelligence is related to mathematics, language, and spatial, right? Pictures, images, directions, and all that. They are normally the typical IQ, right? So he says yes. So can you continue to read?
Yes, ma'am. Sternberg notes that students have high academic abilities may still not have what is required to be a successful student or a competent professional. To do well as a graduate student, he noted the person needs to be creative. The second type of intelligence emphasizes this quality.
Yeah, this quality, very good. So just because that they are very good in their academic, that means analytic comfort intelligence. They study, they come and reproduce answers, and they logically write answers, they write assignments. They are intelligent, they are academic, they have the academic intelligence, but that is not adequate. That is not adequate in workplace or in higher studies, right? We need people who have creative intelligence as well. So what is this creative intelligence? They are experiential. That, let's read it and see. Can you, Anafu, read?
Creative, experiential, the ability to apply newly found skills to novel situations. A potential student might be strong academically and have creative ideas, but still be lacking in the social skills required to work effectively with others or to practice good judgment in a variety of situations. This common sense is the third type of intelligence.
Yeah, that third type is practical, contextual. Right, before coming to the practical, now the second intelligence, creative. Just because that you are very good in your studies, you pass exams, takes 3 A's and enter medical college and all that. So there can be people, those who are not very creative, and that newly learned things, they can't apply to new situations. A potential student might be strong academically, and having creative ideas also, but they use something that they learned and they actually put two and two together, draw from this concept, these concepts, and they can create new things and all that. That is creative intelligence. That is also very important intelligence, but still it's not adequate. You have to be good in your practical intelligence also. That is your ability to use common sense in the context, according to the situation you face, right? Now, that is also a very important one. Can I actually give you an example of this? Now, suppose now somebody learns mathematics and he learns the big concepts related to mathematics and pass the exam with A's and all that. But practical means there are some practical situations. Now, sometimes back actually the state universities were criticized. They actually give only theories. The practical aspect, how to use it and do something, that is not actually developed in the undergraduates. So how to apply it in the practical context? That is why now when you're reading for a degree, you're sent for internships and all that. So what you learn as theory, they can actually go and practice in a workplace, and they develop their ability to use what the knowledge in the in a particular context, or to address a situation, right? And then creativity, that what you learned or what you know as it is, reproducing it in your workplace or in your higher studies, is you are lacking in creativity. You will be able to actually use what you have learned, synthesize them, put two and two together, and draw from different concepts and combine and bring out something all new, innovative, creative. So you have to get your learner to develop in not only in analytic intelligence, but in creative and practical intelligences as well. So because of that, your teaching has to be actually geared towards development of all the three intelligences. Now, according to MI, it's 8 intelligences. It's different. According to um, uh, according to this triarchical by Sternberg, it's 3 different types of intelligences. So you have to keep that in mind. Not only analytic, that is subject related, but they have to be creative, they have to be practical. Okay, so you teach something that you get them to do something using it, and then get them to actually create their own versions using that knowledge. So you should have the ability to do that, then only that you are becoming a good teacher, because otherwise your students also not getting these all the 3 intelligences developed in them as said by Sternberg. Okay, academic, creative, and practical. Now I want to take 2-3 minutes and ask you, think of your own subject, think of some small concept related to that subject. So it's analytical or academic intelligence. They will learn it very well and pass exams and write assignments. But how can you add some practical and creative component to it to cater to these 2 intelligences? Can I get one or somebody to actually give me an example? Is it possible? Is it possible? You need to think. Hello. Hello.
Yes, madam.
Thinking. No, I'm disturbing. Give it a try. Hello. Are you all there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you think of these projects that you have to do? Problem solving activities, tree planting days organized.
What about the drama, madam?
Yeah, can you explain how we are going to tackle to 3 intelligences? That can be one of the possibilities, I know. No? What about drama කියලා කිව්වේ? Now you give them some kind of drama, how do you say that? Now suppose you are an English language teacher, that you taught them, no, you are giving them a project. You are the grade 6 class teacher. You are giving them a project, right? So you get them to write a project report. So you teach them how to write a project report and get them to look at a sample project report and then get them to write a project report and you give them marks for the project report. It is academic and analytic part of it. Then actually you give them, now you're going to actually raise funds using raise funds, not by actually going for sponsorships, but you're going to actually raise funds by engaging in your own small mini projects. So you ask them, you all are working in groups. So how are you going to raise funds for this project? So what's the project I told you? It's actually awareness project about dengue. So to carry out that project, that you need funds. So how are you going to actually raise funds and what kind of activities that you are going to do to make awareness among people about this dengue? So then different groups will come up their own ideas, right? They will say, we will actually have some posters, right? And we'll actually paste them like that. And then to raise money for that, we will actually have a bake sale. Like that, they have their own ideas. They are coming up with those ideas. And then practical. Now, practical is that some people will come up with ideas which is not actually feasible. You can't do it in a small time frame. You have only 2 weeks for that. They are planning to have something that cannot be completed in 2 weeks. And even for the project that they say for awareness, something very big that is not actually feasible, then they lack practical aspect, that intelligence. So Sternberg says that if you give these kind of projects, mini projects, drama projects or whatever, that your students will develop all the 3 aspects. So a lot of creative ideas, but not feasible, not practical, that is also useless. So the very innovative methods of teaching, not in the classroom, you get them to listen and take down notes, will get them to develop all the 3 intelligences. This practical and creative intelligences, they can be developed through projects that they carry out. Problem solving, scientific methods that you use in the classroom, then only that they will be able to practically, depending on the context that they have to take. Right now, if you are in a big group, the project can be a different one. If you have limited numbers in the group, the project cannot be the same. The feasibility is not there. So they will consider the practical aspects. So this is one example that I gave you, which talks about new methods of teaching, not these traditional classroom methods, where the students have to actually use their knowledge, academic intelligence, and actually apply it to create something new and in a very feasible manner, adapting it to the particular situation or the context that they are going to use it. That is all about that triarchic theory of intelligence by Sternberg. Before that, these were not assessed at all. These were not assessed at all. It's only now somebody is intelligent, even you're applied for a job, there is a kind of IQ test, all maths and science. But now it is different. The concept of intelligence has undergone different changes. Because of that, they will get your ability test will be tested in a different manner. Okay, so you have to prepare your students for that. So when it comes to theory of successful intelligence, it's actually kind of add-on to the triarchical theory of intelligence. So analytical and creative and practical intelligences are there. But he actually talks about another 3 components in that successful intelligence. Okay. Apart from for the 3, there are another 3 added to it, that is contextual intelligence and balancing component experiential and contextual intelligence and wisdom, right? So contextual intelligence is adapting intelligences to suit to the various contexts. Further, he elaborates on the 3 intelligences. Okay, so contextual means depending on the situation and the context, that if the person can adapt and then carry out their duties and work, that he has this contextual intelligence. Okay, it involves knowing when and how to apply analytical, creative and practical intelligence depending on the situation. So you have to train your learners for this. Then only these intelligences will actually develop. So for that, typical teacher-centered classroom teaching methods, lectures, demonstrations, discussions, they are very typical. They will not help. So most of your teaching would cater to the new method, deal with new methods of teaching, like projects, assignments, scientific methods used in the class, like that. Okay, balancing componential, experiential and contextual intelligences. This intelligence suggests that individuals who can balance and integrate all these components, right, they actually will do better. So because of this balancing part, they are all these type of intelligences, how they are able to balance it. That of course is another intelligence according to you, right? They are more successful in world of work, right? And then wisdom. Wisdom is actually something to go with ethics and responsibilities. Wisdom is something to go with ethics and responsibilities. Now, you know, Buddhism talks about wisdom, right? Wisdom is intelligence to promote a common good and contribute positively to society. So your knowledge, your intelligences may be analytical, may be practical, may be creative intelligence. They are used for the common good, right, of the society. So you're a very positive person. You're using them for the common good of the society. That is wisdom. So all your intelligences are geared towards common good, which incorporates ethics and responsibility. That is another intelligence. So these are not spoken about earlier, but now they actually emphasize on this. That means the teacher's role, teachers learning and teaching, they should undergo changes, right? You have to think of all these intelligences, and development of those intelligences actually lies on the shoulders of the teacher in the classroom learning and teaching. So that's the responsibility. So in a sense, the theory of, can you read the last paragraph? This one. Yeah.
In a sense, the theory of successful intelligence emphasizes that intelligence is not just about having cognitive abilities, but also about how effectively these abilities are applied to meet the challenges of life. Successful intelligence involves recognizing the appropriate context for each type of intelligence and adapting one's cognitive skills to achieve personal and societal goals. This theory has implications for education and life skills training, as it suggests that individuals should be equipped with the skills to use their intelligence in practical and adaptive ways.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. Very good reading. So now you can see intelligence going beyond just mathematics and linguistics. MI theory, the 8 intelligences. එතකොට Sternberg's the 2 theories, triarchical, and then the successful intelligence. ඒක combine කරලා ගන්න. That they talk about wisdom also. Wisdom කියලා කියන්නේ all the intelligences are balanced and adapted, and it's for the common good of the society, not its only individual. That ability should be also given to the child, and it's also considered as intelligence. So MI theory also, I told you existentialism as an intelligence. They are still working on that as the 9th one. So similarly here, it's already added wisdom as one of the intelligence. So your intelligences are kind of geared towards common good, and you're very ethical and responsible in making use of your analytical intelligence, your practical intelligence, and your creative intelligence. So if you actually are very creative in actually making a bomb, you lack wisdom. That is one part of intelligence that you should develop in your students. So it's disastrous, right? That is the idea. So how the intelligence is highly, we thought it's a matter of actually ability to do something in a materialistic intelligence. No, it's not so. Now it's going beyond materialistic concepts, and these wisdom, the ethics and responsibilities are also seen as a part of intelligence. So if it is a part of intelligence, teachers, you have a role to play in schools, okay? So these intelligences cannot be actually catered to if you're a typical class, talk and chalk teacher. Go in front of class and go on talking with the young learners. In adult education, it's different, right? You have to get them to actually get involved in projects, problem-solving activities. You have to use scientific methods, project-based methods, assignment-based methods for them to actually develop different intelligences. So the knowledge is applied in different contexts, right? And new knowledge is created by actually synthesizing what they have learned. So for that, you have to give them guidance, right? Kind of projects that you give them to actually teach them wisdom, right? All these they are in the Sternberg's. Then we have only another 20 minutes. I will quickly look at the cognitive load theory. Cognitive load theory, I'm going to spend only 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes on that. Is a psychological framework that focuses on the cognitive demands imposed on person's working memory. Working memory is the short-term memory. Another term for working memory, short-term memory, is working memory. Okay, now memory we have done. Sensory, short-term and long-term. Okay, there's another term. Another term for short-term memory is working memory, right? Then, now working memory, it's very demanding for the short-term memory when it comes to learning and problem solving. Why? It is very limited in its capacity and duration. Capacity is magic number 7. Duration is 20 to 30 seconds, right? They have to pass it on to the long-term memory. So because of that, cognitive load theory says the learner, this teacher should, the instructor should actually facilitate this process. So working memory, once the information enters the working memory, they have to work very fast. Rehearse, and send it to the long-term memory. So that is termed as cognitive overload. Cognitive overload, right? Cognitive overload. Because the working memory is overloaded. They have to do a very hard task. The working memory has to actually act fast, right? In passing information to the long-term memory. So for that, they have to semantically code it. Meaningfully, you have to adapt, put it into the long-term memory. Systematically, you have to pass it on to the long-term memory. So because of that, this limited capacity of processing information in their working memory, and when this capacity is exceeded, it can lead to cognitive overload and hinder effective learning. So that process we have discussed, and that is the concern of the cognitive load theory. Is it understood by you?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Now let's see how to facilitate the cognitive overload because of the limited capacity, because of the limited duration. So it becomes an overload. The working memory, short-term memory is overloaded. So which is termed as cognitive overload. So how to actually facilitate it and getting them to commit what is there in the working memory to the long-term memory is the concern of this cognitive load theory, which is considered as another intelligence theory. Okay. Now, working memory. Working memory is the temporary mental workspace where information is processed. You all know that temporary mental workspace, that information is processed. අපි ගත්තා නේද? මේ පැත්තට ඇවිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලන් කොහොමද process කරන්න කියලා we have to quickly do that. It has limited capacity, meaning that individuals can only hold. My battery is getting low. Give me a second. My battery. Okay. Can you see the document?
Yes, ma'am.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh. What is this? Right? There's a cramp. The cramp. Okay. I changed my position and okay. Now here, sorry about it. Okay. Working memory. Now, right. Now here you know that working memory is overloaded with work because of the limited capacity and limited span, and it has to work very hard in order to systematically and semantically coded information to be passed on to the long-term memory. There's nothing new when it comes to you. You all know that, right? Working memory. Working memory is the temporary mental work space where information is processed, manipulated, and used for cognitive tasks. It has limited capacity, meaning that individuals can only hold a certain amount of information at once. This limitation makes it essential to manage the complexity of learning materials. That, of course, you know. Then intrinsic load. You look at intrinsic load. Now, cognitive, we are talking about this cognitive overload, na puta. What is meant by intrinsic load? Right. Intrinsic cognitive load refers to the inherent complexity of the learning material itself. Some content is naturally more complex due to its inherent structure, the number of interacting elements, and the relationship between them. So, intrinsic load means the very nature of the subject matter you present. Intrinsic cognitive overload. Intrinsic load means the very nature of the subject matter you present to the students is actually, it's very complex. The topic you discuss is complex. Now, for example, if I took two theories I discussed, classical conditioning, and if you compare classical conditioning with Gagne's information processing theory, you can see the difference, which is more, or which is which can be considered as a more intrinsic loaded. classical conditioning or information processing theory? The very nature of the topic, which is simple, which is complex. Forget about that. You can't remember classical conditioning. Then I ask you this question. What is easy to do? Kind of riding your motorbike. No, don't want to say that. Driving a car, or you're a pilot of a plane, which is more complex, which is more in intrinsic load.
Driving a car.
Than being a pilot of a plane.
Pilot of a plane.
Yeah, very specific training is needed. Am I right? You're not given your license unless you that complete your number of hours as a pilot, because it's intrinsic load. That is the very nature of the task, very nature of the topic you teach, the very nature of the concept is very complex. So it is, then there is intrinsic load. So as the teacher, if you really want to actually facilitate that transformation of information to the long-term memory, you have to consider that this intrinsic load is less or more. Got it?
Yes, madam.
Extraneous load. Extraneous means cognitive demands imposed by the instructional design itself, including the way information is presented, poorly designed materials with unnecessary complexities and distractions. So this part is by the teacher. Now you can't help it, no. If the topic is a difficult topic, if the subject is a difficult subject, if the concept is difficult, it is intrinsic load. But extraneous load means how the teacher presents it to the students, right? If the teacher doesn't have a properly developed simple to complex teaching learning material, and if the teacher doesn't actually explain it properly, if the teacher doesn't have any plans and then get them to learn everything in a kind of a mix-up way, then extraneous load will be more. So you have as teachers to think of minimizing extraneous load as well. Okay. Then germane load refers to the mental effort required to process information and build meaningful connections between new information and existing knowledge. This form of cognitive load is productive because it contributes to learning and understanding, right? So a lot of activities done by them. So then only that it will be learned. So what they are supposed to do, they have to write summaries, they have to draw graphs, they have to do some manipulative activities, and that mental efforts required to process information and build meaningful connections. That also can be a kind of another overload for them in the working memory. Okay, based on these principles, cognitive load theory suggests several strategies for optimizing learning. Now you all can read. I will explain if it is needed. So this overload can be threefold. Overload can be threefold. What type of overloads can be there? Intrinsic overload, very nature of the subject matter. Extraneous overload because of the teacher's teaching and how the material or knowledge is presented. And germane load, what kind of strategies that they have to use in understanding it. So all the three are kind of the three types of cognitive overload that can happen in the working memory or the short-term memory. So how to actually cater to these? What kind of strategies can be used to kind of minimize cognitive overload and optimize learning? එතනට වෙනකන් තේරුණාද ටිකක් යන්තම් then you can read and understand it better? Yes or no? Right. Okay, now we will stop at this because otherwise the cognitive overload will be there and the time also we are exceeding. So we have the next week, we have 2 hours for paper structure and revision. I will do the last part of it, self-regulation, theory of intelligence, because it's also very useful, Nisa. But we'll stop at this, but we will be discussing this, the strategies for reducing these 3 type of cognitive overload that can happen in the working memory. Okay, right. First taker, who will read? Reduce extraneous load. Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
can you read that?
Reduce extraneous load. Instructional materials should be designed to minimize unnecessary cognitive demands. Clear and well-structured presentations with minimal distractions can help learners focus on the essential content.
Right, that is one thing, reduce extraneous load. Instructional material should be designed to minimize unnecessary cognitive demands. Clear and well-structured presentations with minimal distractions can help learners focus on the essential content. So unnecessary things you don't have to teach. What is exactly needed? Because the very nature of the topic is difficulty. It's a complex topic. The teacher should know. So the teacher should not actually get into unnecessary details of this. So you have to make it very clear and well-structured presentation of knowledge. Okay, very good. Because the very nature of the subject is complex. Okay, second one.
Manage intrinsic load. Complex content can be broken down into smaller, more manageable chunks. This segmentation helps learners process information step by step and gradually build a deeper understanding.
Yeah, so step by step that you have to teach. Simple present tense, you first teach them the active voice, S form or base form, verb formation, right? And then you teach them when to use the simple present tense, active voice, positive only. Then once it's learned, that you will teach them negative, does not and do not with the base form. Likewise, you go step by step, right? So you can minimize intrinsic load, that is the teacher, how she or he presents the knowledge, and it causes cognitive overload otherwise in the working memory. Okay, the next one.
Provide guidance. Initial learning may be enhanced by providing explicit guidance or worked examples that demonstrate the problem-solving process. This guidance reduces cognitive load and allows learners to focus on understanding the underlying principles.
Yeah, very good. That means you are giving them models, right? You actually do it and show. Then if not, you will actually give them a kind of model to follow. Now, suppose you get them to do a graph description. It's very difficult for the grade 7 students. So you can actually give them a graph description as a model and then get them to look at the important features of the graph description. And like that, guidance should be provided. So these are all actually interconnected. You can provide guidance with manage intrinsic load. That is how the teacher presents the material. Now, for example, this is English language, you're getting them to do a graph description. So it's difficult. So you have to actually reduce extraneous load. So very nature of graph description is a difficulty. So you will find a solution through managing intrinsic load. That is how you present it to the learner, from simple to complex. So in presenting it to the students in simple to complex, it can be provide guidance. So you give them a graph description written by the teacher, and you can get them to actually analyze it by giving them an activity. So they read the graph description and write answers to the questions asked. Then they see how a graph description is done. Then in the second one, you may give them actually complete, may give them a graph and ask them to write answers in complete sentences. So in the first one, what does the x-axis represent? So students write the answer in complete sentences. The x-axis represents the number of items. The number of items. So they have to actually look at the question, get the part of the sentence from the question. What does the x-axis represent? The x-axis represents, look at the graph and add the second. Likewise, it's actually step-by-step guidance is given to the students. That is, they are all connected, okay? Then next one. What is the next one?
Increase scaffolding.
Okay. Scaffolding, you know, in Vygotsky's scaffold can is support, right? Scaffolding refers to provide temporary support to learners as they engage with more complex tasks. Gradually, as learners become more competent, the scaffolding can be reduced to encourage independent problem solving. So you have to provide scaffold. Scaffold may be the model answers you give. Scaffolding may be group work, pair work that you organize. Scaffolding may be a reading material or a video that you get them to watch, right? So those are actually supports given to the learner because there is cognitive overload. You have to minimize. Okay, next.
Promote self-exploration. As learners become more proficient, they can engage in self-directed exploration and problem solving. This can help transfer knowledge from working memory to long-term memory, enhancing retention.
Right. So later on, once they actually are capable of all that, they will be able to actually easily transfer their working memory, what is there in working memory, to the long-term memory. But before that, they will actually face this cognitive overload because of the limitations of the working memory. And then the teacher should know different types of cognitive overload that can happen and what kind of strategies to be used. That is what is actually discussed in cognitive load theory of intelligence. I think that when you read this again, then once again, these are very very common strategies that the teachers also use. So why we are doing like that, it's further understood by you because of the discussion that we had on cognition, the stage model memory, and then the cognitive overload, how to facilitate transformation of information from short-term memory to the long-term memory. That is it all about. Okay. So then I have another one important topic. It's also an intelligence theory, self-regulated learning theory. I'll be discussing it the next day. I will be sending you the materials. You can read it and come and finish it in 10 minutes. And then after that, I will do a revision on all the areas that I have done. And then I will discuss the structure of the final written paper that you're getting. Are you all okay what I'm going to do next time? I want you to do a small homework and come. Before that, tell me, is it okay what I did today and what I'm going to do next day, the last day? Is it understood?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, I want you to do something and come, right?
So-
This is what I want you to do and come. It will be a kind of a help for you also. Then if you bring that, I will actually discuss the structure referring to areas, structure of the paper referring to the areas, how the questions are kind of formed by the combination of the topics in forming questions. Combination of topics in forming questions. That, of course, I can discuss. If you do this homework and come, you have to spend only half an hour on this. So I have had 10 days with you, right? Day 1, what are the main topics I discussed? Day 2, only the topics, okay? What are the main topics? Maybe 3-4 topics, what I discussed. Day 3, what I discussed. Day 4, what I discussed. Can you bring it in a grid? Okay?
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
bring it in a grid? Everyone of you have to do that. Then we will not miss anything. Okay? The others will do. I don't have to kill it. Okay, then.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Okay. When it comes to today's one, I think it's a bit fast that we went. Because of that, I think you all have to read it again, Kiela. Okay. This is very important component, and we want to discuss how these are actually applicable to learning. Then and there, when we discuss them, but you have to make a kind of note on that. It will be very helpful for you for your exam. Now, what are intelligence learning theory? You can say multiple intelligence. What are the teacher implications? You can say another one. What are the teacher implications? Like that, you have to make a note of it. Very important for you to getting ready for the exam purpose. Okay, right. With that, can I actually stop for the day? And today is our last session anyway. Next Wednesday is to do revision and to discuss the format of the final paper. And I will be covering this last intelligence theory, that is self-regulation learning in theory of intelligence, because it's also very important. Okay. With that, I will take only 10-15 minutes, and after that, it's a bit of revision on what you bring to the class. And I will talk to you about the structure of the paper and what areas are combined for one question, because you will be given a choice now. So then you can select and study also. That option will be available for you if you do it and come. So thank you very much for joining, and we'll meet next Wednesday as the last session before the examination, written examination. Okay. If you really want an extension to the date of your examination from mid-September to end September, that will be possible. You think and come. Okay. See you then. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, madam, can't you give some more days to do our assignment?
This is, who is this?
Mubarika. This is not only my request, everyone.
That, of course, is a difficulty, Puta, because you have been given how many days? 14, no? I do not know the institutions. Why? You're busy these days?
Yeah.
Busy with what?
It's my child.
That is not an excuse, no, Pute. Can't you find help or something?
Okay, we'll try.
You're Mubarika then?
Yes.
I don't know the kind of policy of this university campus, because if I give you an extension to you, then the others, it's a disadvantage for them. Am I right?
Yeah.
And when you have another module started, then you get 2 or 3 assignments together. So you find it difficult to manage it. But there can be a grace period with kind of some deduction of marks. Normally, that is the practice. Now, if you can't meet the deadline, you can be taken your grace period, maybe another week. But there will be a deduction of marks. Something like that is there. Anyway, Mubarika, regarding this, it's not my policy. You have to speak to the institution and get them to tell what are their actually policies regarding this assignment submission. Whether you are entitled for a grace period, if you are entitled for a grace period with a valid reason, how no marks deductions or marks are deducted, because it's uniformity. Everyone is treated alike in doing their assignments. So if you really find it difficult, better to speak to the institute, okay?
Okay.
And see their actually policies regarding this. That, of course, you can do, Pute. I understand with a kid it's difficult. But try your level best to meet the deadline. If it is still difficult, you can speak to the institute and see what are the provisions for you, Kiela. Okay? They are not
Okay.
decided by me anyway. Okay, Putta. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, madam.